Did you know that 97% of the thoughts that you have today are a repeat on the thoughts that you had yesterday and the day before and the day before? What if you could have control of at least 1 or 2% of those thoughts? Are you having any negative thoughts that are stopping you from doing the things that you need to do? Imagine having control of those 1 or 2% thoughts. Coach Lee shares some great strategies on how you can shift those thoughts as soon as you have them. Let's jump in and chat to Coach Lee. Business coach Lee Gray, so great to have you here. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Lee, tell me, what led you to becoming a business coach?
What led me to becoming a business coach was everything I did in my life until the day before I became a business coach. So the day you become a business coach, especially with Action Coach, is you become a business owner. And I wanted to be a business owner. I've always had businesses, side hustles, and a couple of real businesses. But I decided at the age of 50, when I lost my job, I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to be my own boss. And so I decided to start my own business, and I haven't looked back. I really haven't looked back. So that's why. And I admire all of the other people who have done that too, because it's a big step to become a business owner. Yeah.
And why business coaching?
Well, the kind of personality that I have, it's a pretty good fit. I think I have a tendency to want to give, and we do give in business coaching, but the benefits way outweigh what we give. So when I started to do the vetting at Action Coach, I was calling around business coaches, and they were not telling me these stories about that I thought I was going to hear. They were telling me the stories about how they felt when a client achieved a goal and what it was like when they won. And man, I wanted to be a part of that. And it's bigger than being an accountant. I'm sorry if you're an accountant, but it's bigger than certain things in life. I feel like it's big, and I wanted something big.
Okay, so let's talk some of those big things that we get to do with clients. So, what's one thing, just before we do jump into a client story, what's one thing you find that gets the biggest results in business?
Well, it's going to sound too simple, but it is the getting control over the business owner's time. Because when we get control, when they take control over their time, then they can take control over their mind, then they can take control over what they focus on, then they can take control over their business. So helping people, get a relationship with their time and how they spend their time, and understanding, the value of where you need to spend your time as an owner. So I'm going to say time, because nothing else matters if you don't spend your time wisely as a business owner.
Such a good point. Okay, so let's talk about a client. So, most business owners come to you with a challenge of, they might be spinning their wheels, or they want to make more profit, or they need more time. They're not focusing on the right things. So tell me, what's a client that's come to you with a challenge, and what's that challenge been?
So I'm going to bring an example to you today. And this happens pretty regularly in coaching. You get with a client and they say, oh my gosh, I'm in a different place in my life. I'm in a different place in my business. And this woman said to me today, she said, I'm without fear today, Coach Lee. I said, what do you mean without fear? She goes, well, I am not worried about what's going on in my businesses. She has 2 locations now. I'm not worried about what's going on in my businesses. I have systems in place. I've empowered my people to make decisions. We had an issue. We dealt with it. I released my team to do the work, and they're doing it. So I'm sitting here now in this coaching session. It was literally today. She said, I'm sitting here today so that I can become even better. And I can do that now. When she first started working with me almost 8 years ago, she was answering the phone, scheduling appointments, doing the laundry, it's a spa, washing the towels, cleaning the rooms, wiping the windows, cleaning out the parking lot, everything. And now she simply runs the business strategically. It's so beautiful.
And how long did it take her to get there, and what were the steps along the way that you helped her with?
We helped her with her identity first. Getting control of time. So having her create a default calendar. And we do that with a lot of clients. And basically that is identifying where your priorities are and then establishing those in your calendar and then sticking with it. So we did that. And then she hired her first person to replace her at the front desk. And when she did that, she started to see, oh, well, I've got time to do some leadership. I've got time to do some growth. I've got time to do maybe some better hiring. So we started working on hiring team. We started working on training. And then every book I gave her the 5 dysfunctions of a team and instant sales. And I gave her all different kinds of books, and she would read those books and come back and say, well, this is what I learned, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But I would say the best thing that's happened with her is she's consistently learned what she needs to do to get to that next level. She's a learner, and I think really big successful owners are learners and applying learnings, right? But that's what she's done. She now has 25 employees, 2 locations. She takes vacations for 3 weeks at a time, and she can be gone. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So you talked about identity, and obviously she had that identity of being a learner. And I would love you to walk me through the success formula that we have at Action Coach, but also just talk to me about that identity, because that's a big one with business owners, isn't it?
It is. I'm really glad you brought that up. And I was going to say, in the beginning, when people hire a coach, they almost always say, I've got to get control of my team. I need to get control of my cash flow. It's a problem. And when you dig deep into it and they begin to uncover what's really going on, it is the identity that they see themselves as a non-leader or a person who doesn't understand cash flow, or, they're always having financial trouble. So it's funny. You can literally say to someone, well, that's not how I see you. When I look at you, I see a person who is in control of their time and in control of their finances. They're still learning, but they're in control. And they go, well, you see that? Sometimes I think it's our job as a coach to see in them what's right under the surface, which got them to be a business owner to begin with, is that belief that they had. And then somehow you get in the minutia of running a business and you forget, I don't know, how amazing you are. And so pulling that out is like, pull it out of you. And then they hear it from someone else, and then they really begin to believe it. So I think that is, the identity is there. We just have to polish it and encourage it to show itself.
And so can you tell me some strategies that we could use to help you with your own identity?
Well,
apart from getting a coach that can help you with that, obviously.
I love that because not everybody's going to get a coach, right? Okay, here's a quick thing that works. It's so dang simple, though. Ugh. Sometimes people, well, that's too simple, I'm not going to do that. But when there's a negative thought, or a thought that, first of all, we don't even know we're thinking negative thoughts because they become so common in our process, in our brain. We don't know that, 97% of the thoughts we think today, we thought yesterday. And if they're a negative thought, we've maybe done it so long it seems like a normal thing. Like I'm a procrastinator. That's just who I am.
So you're taking on that belief system that you are that thing that maybe you just don't have the skill to do, or that. And that's so interesting. 97% of your thoughts today you had yesterday and the day before and the day before. Wow.
And imagine having control over 2 or 3% of those every week, or working on them. So the strategy is to catch the thought and literally say, I'm not thinking that thought anymore. I'm now thinking a different thought, and this is what it is.
Okay, I want you to repeat that, because that is just
Isn't
gold.
it? It
Okay.
is. So the thought comes through, there it is. I'm going to be late all the time. I'm no longer thinking that thought. Instead, I'm thinking I am a person who is always on time. Because the brain believes whatever it's told. We've grown up with things that we've heard our whole life. Popcorn is unhealthy. I don't know. And then you're 40 years old and you find out, well, popcorn isn't really going to hurt you. Oh, but I believed that for so long. And I say that because it's so silly. But many of the thoughts that we bring to business are silly too. I'm not smart enough. I don't know how to hire. I can't retain good people. Yeah, I don't have good credit or whatever. And all of those things we can overcome. All of them. There's not one thing in life that cannot be overcome. They're just
That is empowering. Very
yeah.
empowering. Okay, so step one would be to change the thought by using those words. I love that. Then what? What comes next?
Then practicing, continuing that process, and then starting to behave in that way. So I am going to show up on time. If that's what my belief was, that I'm always a procrastinator, I'm going to show up on time. And I may even say to someone, you know what? I've had a history of procrastinating, but I've decided I'm not a procrastinator anymore. And look, it's 11:15. I'm 5 minutes early. Reinforcing it sounds so silly, doesn't it? It's almost like kindergarten. It's like, you can do this, 5-year-old child. You can. And as soon as you believe it, especially when your teacher tells you you can do it, right? And that's what you're doing to yourself with your own thoughts and actions.
I'm definitely going to take that. Big BFO for me. I'm going to take that one on.
You'll have to tell us what a BFO is.
I am no longer late. A BFO is a blinding flash of the obvious. So that's my key takeaway. Thank you.
Good.
So far, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more.
I hope so.
Okay, so identity. So that's changing the thought patterns that you have, which changes the belief systems that you have about yourself. Then what?
Well, you can just continue that process, I think, but then start to continue to do the things that the person in the new identity does. Be on time if that's the one thing you're working on. And then maybe even get some skills and have some things in your toolkit that help you to reinforce these things that you've learned. Like, get a calendar system. And I'm not going to say any kind of calendar system. Figure out what works for you, but put things into place to provide a structure for what you want to do. Because without structure, we're all going someplace we don't belong. Even business owners. So having a plan for that, having a plan to stay a non-procrastinator, if you will. So that would be a calendar system or the default calendar, or putting something on your Outlook or Google Calendar. Yeah.
Okay. So the be, do, have is the formula that we talk about a lot, and a lot of people would have heard that formula. The being, so you just mentioned obviously a couple of strategies to help you with the be. What are some other ideas of ways that can help you be the person that you need to be?
Mm-hmm. I love be, do, have. So basically it's a formula that I like to work backwards. So whatever in life you want to have is multiplied equals whatever you do times who you be. And so the be is the being. So if you want to have a successful business, and part of having a successful business is to be on time and to show up prepared, right? You have to be a learner of time management. You also have to do time management, and that might be even hiring someone to say, oh, it's time for you to go to your next meeting, or whatever it is that you put into place. So you're going to be that person who is becoming the owner of time, do the activity. And that, if you multiply, let's say you, on a scale of 1 to 10, you put your be as a 5 and your do as a 5, that's a result of 25. But what if you did 7 times 7? I mean, that's a huge improvement because you multiply that be, who I believe I am, who I am becoming, the be, all about me, times what I do in alignment with my be. The have, or the result, is compounded. So how amazing is that?
That's amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really a beautiful, when I teach that to my clients, I tell them, sit down, be prepared, because I'm giving you the formula, literally the formula for life success, because that's what it is. It's whatever you want to have in life is a formula of what you want to do, what you do times who you be. And I say who you be, I know it's bad English, but it is who you be, become, believe, behave, all of those human being things.
Uh-huh.
I think that's pretty
You
important
can
too.
tell that you're really passionate about talking about it, and I can see the poster behind you, but people listening obviously won't be able to see that. We do have poster, yeah. So what's the other? I know that Action Coach has another strategy around IVVMs. Can you walk me through that? Because that's a big part of that we do have
It
too, isn't it?
is. It is. So nothing happens without an idea or a thought. So IVVM stands for idealize. So in my head, I have an idea, and then I can visualize it. First, I have to see it in my head, then I have to see it in my mind's eye, and then I start to say it, I verbalize it. So I begin to believe I can be a business owner. I can be a business owner. I'm thinking about it. And then I start to I visualize I could have an office in downtown Sydney, and I could be down the street from whatever. I'm making all this up because I've never even been to Sydney,
Or
but
Wichita.
or Wichita, Kansas, go Chiefs, which you don't even know about that. Believe me, USA knows about the Kansas City Chiefs. That's our football team. And so I've seen it in I visualize it in my head, then I visualize it in my mind's eye, and then I start to talk about it. I'm thinking about starting a business. I think I can start a business. I believe I have the skill set to start a business. And then because of the reticular activating system, which is what we think about, we bring about, it begins to materialize. That thought that started with an idea. You know, I started thinking about writing my book 10 years ago, and I put it out there, and it stayed out there for the longest time. And then I started to really visualize it. Oh, could I be on the cover? Would my cover be pink or would it be red? And then I started to verbalize it and tell people about my idea, and I started getting feedback on it. Well, now I'm in the process of writing the book. So that's a way how it works. You idea. So I love ideas. Whatever you do not squash an idea because it is just a few steps away from materializing, right? IVVM. It's an idea. It's a visualization. You verbalize it and it materializes. It is a proven formula. It's a proven formula. It's like,
Mm.
yeah.
It's I'm not sure whether you listened to it, but our founder and chairman Brad Sugars has a podcast called The Big Success Podcast, and he interviewed Dr. Alan Peace recently, and Brad was asking him about goals, and Dr. Peace said that often what happens in our brain when we have that thought or idea behind something that we want to achieve or a goal or dream that you have, you automatically go to the how or how would I do that? But that often kills the dreams. So the strategy of IVVM helps to materialize that dream, right?
It is, and it's unnatural because we've been groomed since the beginning of time to realize how am I, in the caveman days, how am I want to go and get the fruit off the tree. Oh my gosh, how am I going to do it? How am I going to be safe? How am I going to protect my family? How am I going to get there and get back? How am I going to get enough? And oh my gosh. And so then we get howled to death until finally the idea goes away. So it's an unnatural process to go past the idea. The idea is there. I idealize and then visualize. Visualize is sometimes the hardest step. Seeing yourself walk across the stage, or seeing yourself sell your business, or seeing yourself have the dream home or the whatever that you wanted. Because
And the feeling, embodying that feeling that's attached to that is also a big part of it, right? Like what does it feel like to have that dream house? Like what would it feel like to be sitting in the living room? What would it feel like to be at the dining room table entertaining or whatever it might be that your dream is? Like that's also can be a big part of how that can come to life.
that is exactly right, Michelle. I think that the feeling can come first. The feeling can come first after the idea and the visualizations. Then you start to feel it, and it happens before verbalization and manifestation, actually happens. So I think you're right on. And it's okay to feel something that hasn't happened yet because it's still real. The feeling is real.
And you just know that your brain automatically then will just figure out the how. You don't need to know the how now, but the future identity that you'll have, and then we can go to success formula, but the future identity that you'll have, that person will know the how, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The how wouldn't appear without all of the other things. If the how, if it appeared before we were ready with our idea, verbalization, it wouldn't make any sense to us. It's probably happened to all of us. I didn't know that how came my way, but uh, once you, the how will come if you're ready for it, if you have the idea. Yeah.
So talk to me about the success formula.
It's another simple thing, but first it's a dream, right? We've got the dream. Dreams times goals. So we have a dream and then we set a goal. And then, so the dream is big and then we set a goal. This is the first step towards my dream. And the dream may be really, really big and the goal may be a step towards it. So D times G times L. What do I have to learn? I had this conversation today with someone who's starting, she's franchising. She's getting ready to franchise her business. And we were talking about, you have to learn to be a different person. You have to learn to be a franchise or instead of just a business owner, because it's a different thing. So her dream of being a franchise has happened. Her goals are in place. Now what does she have to learn? And then DGLP, what plans in place are necessary in order to execute? And then execute is basically action. So it's dreams times goals times learn times plan times act. Any one of those at the highest level will get you there. It really will. So if your dream is really big, you still need to have all of those other steps activated. But just a beginning. Even if the dream is little, if you can figure out the goal and start a plan and figure out what you have to learn. Yeah, I love DGLPA. It's really simple.
Yeah, that's amazing. Awesome. So let's go back to your client, the spa owner that you just mentioned. So she got some time back. And so you've been teaching her through the success formula, really, who she needed to be in order to have that goals that she wanted to achieve. What was next, or what is next for her? Or what came next after the time she got her time back? Then what did you help her with?
The first thing, she had her little business and then she doubled the size of it. And then I think it's been 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, she started a second location in the town we're in. The next step for her is to have a location in another city where she wants to retire. So that's the beginning of the next step for her. So she's still really pretty young, but she knows where she wants to live, and she's ready. She's ready to do the same thing she's done twice in another place. She's also ready to maybe help other businesses in the same industry. You know how you want to give back, and she's ready for that. And
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that's how we have, so many business coaches. That's the beginning of it, right? Like you've become successful in an industry, and now you want to help others do the same. You've learned the things, you've mentored people along the way, and now she wants to teach other spa owners how to build successful spas. I mean, that's awesome.
It is,
Love that.
and really, in this town where we live, there have just been one after another shutting down, and hers continues to grow and grow, and people,
Ask her what her secret is.
Yeah, and
I hope she says it's Coach Lee Gray.
She's very much an action coach proponent, and she's very much a raving fan. She's been to a couple of our BizX events that we have, where we bring clients, and she's wonderful. Very much a raving fan. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, Lee, 3 quick questions for you. What is your favorite business book?
Brad Sugar's. I love Brad, and I love all of his books. I really do. But my favorite book is Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. He at the end of the day, everything we do is a negotiation, everything. And so if you can just get a little better at negotiation, then business is better and life is better and employees, better. You're able to just position yourself better. I just love that book. And I follow him on Instagram and all of his social media. I like that book. I recommend it to everyone.
Okay, yeah. Great. Number 2, who's been the best mentor or coach for you?
Well, I have had a few. My very first mentor, though, was in a sales career I had when I was very young. When I first started, a friend of mine, my sales manager, told me that I could do anything, and that she saw so much in me. And I remember, and today, so 50 years later, we're still friends. That's literally how long it's been. Has it been that long? Oh, no, not quite that long. Or long time. And I still tell her that she gave me the opportunity to do things I didn't think I could do. And I think that's what a mentor does, is give you the opportunity or challenges you to do the things that they know you can do, but you don't, because of that self-doubt we have, right? So her name was Retha, a really wonderful friend of mine. And then I've had some really great coaches in Action Coach. So I have worked with Carrie Kaufman, who is wonderful. I've worked with Marianne Hauser, who is wonderful. I work with Bruce Wilson. These are some of the coaches around the world that have strengths in certain areas, and they've helped me be who I have become. Reggie Shropshire is another one. And it sounds like maybe I'm switching around coaching. It's not that at all. It's they've said, you're ready to go on to another person or another place. And I'm pretty lucky to have all of those resources, really. Very much so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 3, what's the best piece of business advice that you ever received?
The best advice I've ever received is, I was thinking about that question. I think the best advice I've ever received is, sounds corny too, but just do it. Just do it. You've heard that before, but darn it, nothing's worse than
Nike.
What?
It's a good plug for Nike.
Maybe, but if you think about it, how many times have we said, "Oh, I wish I would have"? And I would rather regret doing something than not doing something. So I would say that is my. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
So many pearls of wisdom in our chat today.
Thank you.
Coach Lee, thank you so much for joining us.
You're very welcome. It was my pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Michelle Adams, your host here. Hats off to you for committing to your learning by listening to this podcast. And if you'd like some help implementing some of these strategies, then click the link in the description to find your local action coach. They can help you put these strategies into action and take your business and your life to the next level. In the meantime, like and subscribe so that you're the first to get our next episode. We'll see you soon.